Greetings, Googleverse. This is going to be my review, my thoughts, my feelings on the film Poor Things by Yorgos Lanthimos. A film that came out last year in 2023. For starters, I'm not the biggest like film enthusiast that I like I used to be back in my 20s, and now it just seems ever like I don't know. Ever since like COVID happened, around like 2020, whatever. It was already starting to happen anyway. But I just feel like cinema and films, like, it's just become remakeville. Like, rehash remakes of the same fucking stories over and over and over and over and over. And I've lost a huge part of that passion that I used to have with films. And I still love, like, a lot of the films that I still love and enjoy. They'll forever be like a part of my soul. But what I'm trying to get at is, it just seems like after COVID and then all this like wokeness, politically correct, you can't say this, you can't say that, you better walk the fine line or we're gonna silence you and censor you and this cancel culture bullshit, whatever, whatever, whatever. It just feels like movies, they don't make films that a filmmaker would really want to make. It just feels like they're making films to pander to the norm or pander to this weird narrative that's like always preaching something. It's this weird, there's all the characters are the same. They're all drones. They're all just agreeing with each other and going, "Yep, yep, yep. You're right. Yep, yes. Oh yes, yes. You're yes, yes. I totally agree with you. Yes, 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 yes." And I just feel like there's no diversity in characters and films that are happening these days. It just feels like everything and everyone's just like this nodding zombie and just like there's no protagonist, there's no anyway, I'm going this is about Poor Things. The film starring oh, fuck, got this spinal cord. It's just, old age. Old age, old age. Anyway, yeah, it's a film starring Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe. Um, just another thing, Grant. I don't watch Oscars. I don't watch award shows. Like ever since the World Wide Web was born, to me, it's just like there's no reason to watch the Grammys or the Oscars or whatever. Like there's just no reason for it. It's just become irrelevant. Its existence is futile. It's pointless. It's just a fucking shit show. But yeah, I wasn't even aware of this movie, to be quite honest with you. Last year, maybe I had heard about it once or twice, but I didn't really look much into it. And what caused me, I'll admit, what caused me and what kind of um, made me latch on and even want to see the film or be invested in it is because I was just reading. I stumbled across a couple of articles on Tumblr and on Reddit, and people were just bashing the movie. People were just shitting all over it. Oh my god, this movie's fucking. It's everything that's wrong with toxic masculinity and how dare this how people can watch this and be okay and be fine with it is it's a damn shame and it's this isn't empowering women. This is just proving my point that all men do is just you know turn women into sex slaves and robots and all this film is doing is preaching and patriarchy, 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 all this noise, right? So all that bickering and bitching with all these people just giving this movie a hard time. That in itself is what kind of drove me to want to actually, to actually want to see it. Um, Otherwise, I don't know if I would have stumbled across it. Um, uh, but yeah, so then after reading a lot of like just negative and you know crying man babies and feminazis just bash the film because it's trash and this is everything that's wrong with you know male dominance in this world and all that crap, right? Whatever. So I go to Walmart. I go to fucking change my tire. And while I'm waiting to change my tire, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just see what Blu-rays they got. And I had read that they released the film on the 12th, I believe, on Blu-ray. The Blu-ray release was on the 12th or the 11th of this month. And I was like, fuck. I was like, it's a shot in the dark. I was like, I doubt they're gonna even have this film. I was like, it's fucking Walmart, you know. And they only had one copy on Blu-ray. And in my head, I was like, it's a sign from the gods. So I buy it. Um, and in a weird way, I just already knew I was gonna love the film, like in a weird hyper projection, astral projection sense of the word. Like, I just knew I was gonna love the film, and it had been a while since I had seen a movie that I was walking into blank. Like I knew nothing about it. I mean, I knew most of the cast. I'll be honest, I didn't really know much. I don't know much about the director, Yorgos Lanthimos. I don't really know much about his work, but it had been a good minute, a good maybe I don't know 2, 3, maybe like 2, 3 years since I was really looking forward to a film I had zero knowledge about. Because again, everything's just like Remakeville, Hash Town, Rehash, Remakeville, seen it, done it all, bullshit. But I just, in a weird way, I just knew I was gonna love the film before I even watched it, and I just read a small synopsis of the film. Again, I don't want to make this a big spoiler type of video and just say like all these scenes of the movies or like give away like all these give away the ending, whatever, right? I don't really want to make this like a spoiler type of video. It's just my how I felt while watching it and how I felt after watching it. um, so I'll try not to give too much away, but probably will be a little bit of spoilers here and there. But so when I read the small little synopsis of the film, it says, you know, an unorthodox scientist implants the brain of a fetus into a woman who had committed suicide. And now this woman in a woman's body has the brain of an infant. Um, Another thing, while I was looking up, well, after I saw the film, I was just doing a little more like research, whatever about the film, right? And on like IMDb or on a Google, whatever the fuck, it says comedy slash sci-fi. And I just hate like these fucking. I guess it's inevitable, right? You have to put things in their category, and this is thrash metal, this is death metal, this is technical core, deathcore metal, and I guess with films it's the same, right? You just kind of have to, I guess. But I seen in no way. Maybe I'm fucked. I'm missing that part in my medulla oblongata. But I don't see how this was like. There's some parts of the film that would make me laugh, make me chuckle, but I don't see why the film would say comedy slash sci-fi when the opening scene. Again, spoiler alert, whatever. Like the opening scene, the first thing you see is Bella Baxter standing over a bridge, pregnant, jumping off the bridge and committing suicide. I mean, that's your opening fucking scene. I don't see how you can call this film a fucking comedy. I don't understand. Like, I guess maybe it's human nature, right? Like, when we're uncomfortable, when we're in an awkward situation, when we're like, eh, and we just laugh, we give like that weird release of laughter because we're in a state of not knowing how to fully process what's happening in the moment. So as kind of this weird defense mechanism that we've evolved over thousands and thousands of years of evolution, we just laugh, we chuckle about certain things to ease the pain of the brutality or whatever the fuck. So anyway, yeah, I don't understand why it's labeled a comedy slash sci-fi. I think that's bullshit. It's a very it's rated R, obviously. Um, they actually ID'd me when I bought the movie at Walmart. They're like, "Who's your ID, sir?" I'm like, "What the fuck? The fuck?" Yeah, bro, I just turned 18, bro. Anyway, yeah, but so yeah, that's the opening scene, and Bella Baxter is like pregnant in a dress, and she jumps off a fucking cliff, off the fucking bridge, and it's like, how is this comedic? But but yeah, and I read the synopsis, and the synopsis is, she's pregnant, she commits suicide. So this unorthodox scientist, this mad scientist, Dr. Frankenstein type motherfucker, named Godwin Baxter, which Bella refers to as God. I like that. Um, so yeah, he's like it's sci-fi. So and why weird feminazi rad femmes are like offended by this film when it's a film that's rooted in science fiction, it gets so create so much of an uproar and whatever. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So yeah, so the synopsis, like I've said this like a thousand times. So that's the basis of the film. That's the origin of the film. That's the whole story. Um, this mad scientist finds this beautiful woman, and she's pregnant. So she, he takes the brain from the fetus or the however old the baby was. I don't know. She had the baby bump, so I'm assuming over 6 7 months. Whatever. It's besides the point. So this mad scientist, Godwin Baxter, um, it's like his experiment, right? He's like Dr. fucking Frankenstein, and she's her monster. Um, not that she's, you get the point. Um, and like the first 20 30 minutes, another spoiler alert, the film's like in black and white. And I don't know, while it gave the film like a very like Frankenstein, like a real Frankensteinian vibe to it, like just like old school Dr. Frankenstein, the monster type of vibes, but in its own world, in its own universe, obviously with its own characters. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, it's just in my head. These are just my thoughts. These are just my interpretations. But I've only seen it once. Saw it yesterday, around this time. Those are the vibes I was getting. I was like, this is. I don't really know. I was kind of lost for a while. I was like, is the whole film in black and white? What the fuck? Not that it mattered, but I was just kind of like. But I was getting like this real like Dr. Frankenstein vibes, and maybe it was a homage, maybe it wasn't by the director himself. But I thought that was pretty cool. Um, and another like this like people going down on this film saying like this is garbage. Uh, this male character just creates her to be a fucking sex slave. This is absurd. Why would anybody invest their time and effort and money into a film like this when it's just proving the point of toxic masculinity and objectifying women? And it's like, I don't know if they saw the film through and through or they're just interpreting it the way they wanted to interpret it. But Godwin doesn't create Bella Baxter to be like his sex slave or his like he, God. I'll just call him God because Bella calls him God. God doesn't create Bella to like satisfy his own like sexual perversions or his like lusting fantasies so he can take advantage of this woman, this child. It's the brain of an infant, the brain of a child who's inside a woman's body. And people are like going off saying that It's inhumane and fucked up, and it's sci-fi pedophilia because this mad scientist is, he just creates, he creates Bella Baxter to be like his sex slave, and it's like, bro, if you really like watched the film, all of it, and you didn't come to your conclusions, even though they were probably already like preconceived conclusions anyway, because they're all fucked up and you don't know how to sit down and shut off your brain and enjoy a film that's happening in the present, in the now. If you're paying attention to the film, Godwin, and he's all scarred up in the film, his face. Uh, Godwin, he's when he's talking to Max, one of the characters, he's kind of confessing that like his dad was a scientist as well, and that his father, God is saying this, and he's telling Max that his father pretty much made him a eunuch, and what that means is that his father castrated him as a kid, and he has all these scars on his face that don't imply it, but God, his father was a scientist as well, and they give all these hints and impressions that his father would like mutilate him and like put needles in his fingertips, and he would pretty much use his own son as an experiment. And I think that's why his face is all carved up too, because his dad would probably like slice him up and to see like the tendons and nerves in his face or whatever the fuck. But long story short, uh, Godwin's dad castrated him as a kid. Fucking cuts off his fucking cock and balls, man. And yet people like in reviews or whatever the fuck their interpretation of the film, they're saying that this mad scientist just creates Bella to be his sex slave, and that's it's fucking stupid because there's he has no compulsions to do that. For Godwin, it's an experiment, and he does grow like an attachment to her because she is his creation. Uh, and there's a line where they're having like this moral compass discussion, and Godwin's like, "Well, would you rather a world without Bella?" Saying whether what I did was right or wrong, she's alive, she's here. Um, so yeah, so that's and the film goes on. I don't want to give away too much of the film. I guess it's not for everybody. It is a bit outside the box, I guess. But one of the cool things that I really loved about the film, and I'll end it with this because I feel like I've been going on forever. Um, one thing that I really loved about the film is that once Bella Baxter like comes to this conclusion in her mind as she's growing, because she's an infant child as she's growing in a woman's, she already possesses a woman's body, but her brain is that of an infant, and she's like learning how to walk and talk and all this shit. And as the film progresses, she's growing and learning and becoming more and more, I don't know, cognitive, more and more mature, more and more, understanding how to navigate through societal circumstances and how to talk to people and how to be polite, how to not be a raging cunt, shit like that, But one of my favorite things about that's ongoing through the film that I noticed or that I felt was an ongoing theme is that even she has the innocence of a child, you know. Through the film, as it's progressing, she becomes more and more cognitive and more conscious of the world around her. So she's growing, she's maturing, and stuff like that. But there's one recurring theme that I really loved about the movie is once Bella Baxter like comes to a conclusion, or at this level of consciousness, self awareness, that she's a prisoner, whether it's a physical prison, a mental prison. Uh, Once someone tries to rob her of her own free will and tell her that she's no longer in full control, she doesn't fucking stand for it, and she does something about it. Like she doesn't. She's not. very receptive to having someone tell her that she can't do what she wants to do. And sure, here as you know, as the film's progressing, these there's characters in the film that are almost taking advantage of her. But as she's growing and navigating her, and she's becoming more and more cognitive, she always wants to do something different. She's like, she gets bored easily, so she's like, okay, fuck this, I'm done. Let's do this now. We're doing this. We're doing this. We're doing this. Okay, fuck this. I'm bored of that. Let's do this now. So I really liked that aspect of her character of like that she's just again once she realizes or comes to this conclusion that she's like a prisoner, whether it's like a physical prison or a mental prison, and someone's telling her no, you can't do that. She's like, no, fuck you, I am, because you're nobody to tell me no. Like you're nobody to fucking stop me. So it was there was this one scene also. I think it's like the turning point for Bella Baxter, and I'll end it with this. There's a scene in the movie where she's like on a because she leaves like the house of the mad scientist, Godwin. And that's another thing to prove the point of that people that are like, this mad scientist just created her to be a sex slave. This is horrible. This is atrocious. It's like, bro, Godwin gave her like that free will. He gives her that choice to like leave and explore the world because eventually Bella gets tired of being in that house in that mansion, and she's like, I want to see the world. Like fuck this. Like why am I? Again, she hates being a prisoner. And Godwin, he's like, all right, you're free to go. I'm not gonna have you chained like an animal. If you no longer want to be here and you feel like an animal, then in your mind you're no longer an animal. Go out into the world, explore, venture. So that's another like sign or obvious to me that the mad scientist God, he doesn't. To him, it's all just an experiment. He's a man of science, and he wants to see this play out and play through. He doesn't want his emotional feelings, his emotional attachment to get in the way of the experiment. And but yeah, the scene that really changes Bella is that she's like on this boat ride because once she leaves the mansion or whatever, the mad scientist mansion, she's going out and visiting other countries and shit. And she comes across a cynic, and he's like, you know what? He pretty much says like, fuck philosophy, fuck democracy, fuck communism, fuck, he's just like a cynic, right? Whatever. And he's like, I'm gonna show you the real ways of the world, how horrible the human species is, and all this. He's like some antinatalist type fuck, right? And he reveals like this slave mine or whatever you want to call it. And there's like slaves and they're like mining minerals or gold or whatever the fuck it is. Besides the point. And he reveals a pit of dying, like starving children. And Bella sees this and she's like, freaks the fuck out. She's like, what the fuck? Like, bro, like we have to fucking do something about this. Like, let's go help them. Like, why the fuck are we just standing here? Like, and fucking silk clothing and like sipping, champagne and wine and all this shit. She's like, what the fuck? Like, why isn't anybody doing anything about this? Like, this is fucking absurd. And she starts crying. Like, she's just like, when the cynic exposes her to this reality, that there's parts of the world that are of like this nature that are just cold, dark uh, circumstances of the fucking world we live in. He exposes her to this, and she's just filled with like sorrow and despair. She's just laying in bed. She's like, why the fuck am I worthy like of wearing like this clothing and sleeping in this bed when this is all happening out in the fucking world? And we need to do something about this. Um, and when she's exposed to that, you know, she's filled with like sorrow and despair. Something's born within her, and at that moment, like she feels that she can make the world a better place, and her journey takes her from there. And It was a good film. It was a good fucking film. People will watch it. I guess it's not for everybody. Um, People will watch it and say it's out there. It's silly. It's goofy. It's a comedy sci-fi. But I saw nothing. I mean, some parts do make me laugh. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think you can label the film like that. Just dealing with this like existentialism of coming to an understanding of who you are or whatever it may be, and then consider that a comedy. Anyway, really loved it. Um, I guess in the end, when it comes to any art form, right? Like whether it's a painting, an album, a film, it's like to me, it's like when you're in the audience, when you're the viewer, and you're in the audience, and it's happening live. It almost feels like you know while the film's unfolding, while you're watching the concert, while you're staring at the painting, it's like the artist has this symbiotic relationship with the audience, and the artist then kind of like he hands you his paintbrush, and he lets you be the artist. He lets you paint the picture. So watch the film and paint your own fucking picture. That's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching. The end. In any film, in any and every film, the ending is the most important part of the film. That's my boy.